we introduce a novel interactive system for authoring 3D shapes quickly and easily with hand gestures and virtual reality. The user can create and modify curve and surface networks with bimanual hand gestures based on the metaphors of physical wire bending and film wrapping. The hand gestures in our system are categorized into pinch, grip, and clamp. Each gesture has two levels of firmness, which are loose and tight. If the user loose pinches, a sphere cursor appears. If the user places the cursor on an end control point, its position is fixed, and adjacent inner control points are displayed. If the user tight pinches on an end control point, then the user can move it without affecting its tangent direction. If the user loose grips, a cylinder cursor appears. If the user places the cursor on a wire, its position and tangent direction are fixed, and adjacent inner control points are displayed. If the user tight grips on a wire, then the user can move and rotate it at the same time. If the user loose clamps, a disc cursor appears. If the user places the cursor on a surface, its position and orientation are fixed, and adjacent floating control points are displayed. If the user tight clamps on a boundary wire of a surface, then the user can move and rotate it at the same time and manipulate the surface shape. Now let's look at how to create and delete a wire. Tight pinch with both hands within close distance to create a linear wire. Loose grip with one hand, then tight pinch with the other hand to create a circular wire. Tight grip both end control points and release them within close distance to delete a wire. Then, let's manipulate the wire. Tight pinch an end control point to move it, while keeping the tangent. Tight grip an end control point to move it as well as rotate the tangent. Tight grip a wire to move the entire connected wires. Loose pinch an end control point and tight pinch an adjacent inner control point to move it freely. Loose grip an end control point and tight pinch an adjacent inner control point to move it while keeping its direction. Tight pinch an end control point and drop it near another wire to connect the wires. Tight pinch a point on a wire to divide the wire into two. Loose pinch an end control point and tight grab a connected wire to separate the wire from the end control point. Loose grip a wire and tight pinch its end control point to separate the other connected wires from it. Now, let's make a surface using wires. Loose grip a wire to select a profile. When the wire becomes completely red, it can be used as profile wire. Tight pinch the two end control points of a profile wire and connect them to the end control points of another wire to create a loft surface. Tight clamp with both hands on a profile wire and move it to create a swept surface. Loose grip to set an axis, and tight grip a profile wire and rotate it to create a revolved surface. Then, let's manipulate the surface. Tight clamp a boundary wire of a surface and move it freely. Loose grip a boundary wire of a surface and tight pinch an adjacent floating control point to move it freely. Loose clamp a boundary wire of a surface and tight pinch an adjacent floating control point to move it while keeping its direction. Loose clamp a surface, and tight clamp an adjacent surface to bend it. We conducted a pilot test with 5 industrial design students to check the learnability and usability of our system as a 3D shape authoring tool. Through the interviews and observations from the pilot test, we found that the user can easily learn and memorize the hand gestures similar to real-life operations, that the user can stay focused on designing shapes without the need for complex menus and buttons, and that the user can quickly complete a 3D shape that is a well-connected network of curves and surfaces.